Sometimes, exploring means seeing what shows up when the snow begins to melt. I'm author and researcher Mike Luoma. One of the first places in Vermont I can usually visit as the winter draws towards its close is Arms Forest, near Burlington's waterfront. Arms Forest is an urban wild, up next to the lake in the new north end of Burlington, behind Burlington High School, a couple of neighborhoods, a church, a bank, and the Burlington Elks Club along North Avenue. The Burlington Sea Caves are down the slope to the east in the Intervale, and Lone Rock Point Peninsula extends out into Lake Champlain to the west. After first exploring here, I'd been disappointed to discover later that part of what I thought was the city forest actually belonged to the Elks Club and was technically off limits. But later in 2022 they announced, and in 2023, the Burlington Elks donated that land to the city. We'll take a look at a boulder and its ridge, look at a possible Mastodon effigy form seen on a southern slope of the ridge, check out what may be a fish effigy on a more distant ridge, and look into what seems to be a constructed fish effigy boulder assemblage in that section of the forest. This could all be ancient indigenous stonework. We now know indigenous people lived here in what's now Vermont since the Ice Age, originally living along the shores of the Champlain Sea. We are also now aware that this wasn't the pristine wilderness of modern myth, but a land where thousands of people lived for thousands of years, fishing and hunting and gathering and planting and harvesting, and likely doing a lot more with stone than previously credited. If you'd like to learn more on the subject, I hope you'll watch my Ancient Stone Mysteries of New England videos, where I look into indigenous stonework and dispel the many myths rooted in Yankee lore. When we look at what I'm calling possible stonework in Arms Forest, I'm suggesting indigenous ceremonial stone landscapes, or CSLs, go well beyond stone rows and cairn-like stone assemblages to include large-scale effigy forms and the use of shaped stones, perhaps even stones they shaped themselves. And if some of the stonework dates back to the Ice Age, maybe 10,000 or so years of erosion and weathering have had some impact, which now means the stonework appears at first more natural than human-made. That's why I like to look a little closer. This looks like a deliberate entryway up the slope of the ridge. We see wing-shaped stones and maybe wing-shaped outcrops along each side. This wing-shaped stone on the right side of the entryway stands out. Along the entryway, across from this wingstone, the entire outcrop appears wing-shaped. The ridgetop boulder rises over what could be a fish form in stone. Is this a loose boulder, or is it part of the ridge itself? There is a single little wingstone on this side. The space between the wingstone and the boulder has been blocked by stones and filled by smaller stones. Split-filled stones are often associated with ceremonial stone landscapes, though this is a somewhat unique example of the form, in my experience. Interesting spiral of stones here, too, on the ground. At first, it appears to be just a simple fire pit, a campfire pit. But look closer. It's more of a spiral shape. When we come around to the northwest side, we see a great deal of separation at the base of the boulder. It looks more like a separate rock from this angle. The boulder on the Boulder Ridge. The next feature isn't far from here. As the ridge slopes down on its south side, this potential effigy boulder sits perched between two other stones. This seems deliberate. A mammoth? A mastodon? What about a cow? Or a snake? It could be a serpent form. The head seems shaped. The remains of both mammoths and mastodons have been found in Vermont. The remains of snakes and cows, too. When we come around the back, we see how it's perched. Circling around to the other side, the back edge of the possible effigy form seems to have a human profile. But we have to be careful when it comes to faces. Our human mind's tendency towards pareidolia means we sometimes just see faces and other animate forms in inanimate objects. It's why we see faces on the fronts of cars or shapes in the clouds, for example. We just need to be aware of this tendency whenever we're considering whether or not something looks like a face. All things considered, this still looks like a face in profile. The other stone forms along this slope up to the Boulder Ridge also look like they could have been created long ago. Stacked stones subject to thousands of years of erosion. This ridge is high enough that it could have been an island just offshore on the Champlain Sea. Could ancient indigenous people have pulled their boats in up this ramp between these stones? I'm asking you to look at things in a different way, to be open to new possibilities. Like, could these stones have been shaped and arranged to suggest the form of a fish? Or a turtle? This stone assemblage was new to me this year. I could not shake the sense I was looking at a fish form. But turtle seems like another possibility. I found this new potential fish poking around the low ridges in the neighborhood of another possible fish effigy. This appears to be an ancient stone assemblage meant to resemble a fish, or perhaps even a whale, with a dorsal fin on top, a shaped tail, and a fin towards the front extending out off the side. The fish form seems to dominate a little hollow in front of it, surrounded by other stones. The front of the fish is almost symmetrical. But as soon as we come around the other side, the effigy is gone. It seems designed to present itself from the other side. I've revisited this potential fish effigy form a few times over the last few years. Each time I visit, before I see it, I wonder if I'll still think it's a fish effigy. Yes, I do. Up around the back of the effigy form, I found these apparent wing-shaped stones embellishing a long, low ridge, perhaps once creating a winged serpent form. These stones, especially the back one, looked shaped to resemble wings. I contemplated the possible human construction and destruction of stonework forms along these ridges, knowing that no matter how many wing-shaped stones or what stone stacking I saw, it would still be quite difficult to convince the average modern Vermonter that we're looking at anything more than just a bunch of rocks. So I appreciate your entertaining these ideas by watching this video presentation nearly all the way through. If you want to learn more about the potential indigenous stonework of New England, I try to share what I discover, experience, and learn in videos on my YouTube channel, in posts on our Ancient Stone Mysteries of New England Facebook group, in the Ancient Stone Mysteries Substack newsletter, and in my book, Ancient Stone Mysteries of New England, available everywhere. Learn more at ancientstonemysteries.com. I'm Mike Luoma. Thank you again for considering these curious stone features in Arms Forest with me.